What if I told you that for $130 you could fix your speakers? You could even fix some of your room issues, and you don't have to do it in the digital domain, and you could listen to your music a different way. Would you be interested? I know I would. So sit down, grab a cup of coffee, and let's talk about something that's really cool. It's an EQ. Not only that, it's got some tubes on it, which are still warm. Because I just pulled this out of service while I was listening to music from the Pixies, actually. Trouble. This is the Douk Audio T8. However, if you just type in Douk Audio T8 in the Amazon, it won't really show up. Actually, I had to dig to find this, but I will link it in the description and the pinned comment so it makes your life easier. You can just click on it. Anyway, this is an EQ, but it's much more than an EQ. They claim it's a preamp, and it is, of sorts. On the front, you have a 5-band equalizer, as well as a balance control, right here, as well as volume control, true preamp, remember, as well as a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. How useful will that be? It's 125 milliwatts into 32 ohms. So it's okay. If you want to listen to headphones, this will allow you to listen to headphones, okay? What's on the back? Thank you so much for watching. If you're new here, consider subscribing and please like this video. I do this for a living, so when people subscribe and like the video, it helps get it out there. It helps me personally, so I thank you for that. We have over 600 videos, so chances are there's going to be something out there for you. Audio, home theater, vinyl, all sorts of cool stuff. So thank you so much for watching, and subscribe and like this video. On the back, we have inputs and outputs. The inputs are right. Which side are they? The inputs are not the white stripes. All right, so you have balanced inputs right here. That is input number 1, numero uno. Next to that, you have a single-ended input. That is input number 2, dos. And then on the front, you can switch them right here. So you can control 2 different sources. However, one has to be single-ended, and the other has to be balanced. And then on the back right here, you have the output section. And the output section has a little white stripe right there. Now, the thing about the output section is they're all going at the same time. So the single-ended is going, the balanced is going, outputting, and the 3.5 millimeter up front is going. Is that really a big deal? Not really. A lot of people do that, which means you're going to be doing some switching right here. And I did not notice any crosstalk, so it seems to be doing a good job. Then over here, you hook up a 12-volt power supply, which is included. It comes with 2 tubes. Let's talk about the tubes. The tubes right here, and they do work, or at least they're in the signal path, because I pulled one out just to make sure. And guess what? The left channel went away. So that's kind of the way I test if it's a fake tube or not. Sometimes tubes aren't even in the circuit, unfortunately, on some equipment. However, you can check that quite easily by just pulling out the tube. And if the sound goes away, then the tube is being utilized, or at least it's, I don't know. Anyway, these tubes are 6N3 tubes. However, they do give you a whole list on their Amazon listing that tells you what different type of tubes you can use. Just real quick, we'll go through them. In the US, 6A8Q, 2C51, 5670, I think that's a GE tube, or GE makes that tube, 5185, 6385, 6185, and WE396. Soviet Union uses, you can use the 6H3N or the 6H311. Remember 311? They're a pretty good band. Came out of Omaha, Nebraska, surprisingly. Germany, ECF82, Czech, 6CC42, and the EU, you can use the ECC42. So, a lot of options for tube rolling here. I am not the foremost expert on tube rolling. However, folks in my community know a lot about tube rolling, and it's kind of cool that this has a fairly common tube. So if you want to get into tube rolling, which simply means changing the tube or swapping the tube, you certainly can. You have a lot of options. And frankly, I think it's kind of cool that they have tubes on here, because I've never seen an EQ that has tubes on it. Let's talk about how it works. Let's do it for instance. Let's say that you have a powered speaker and it doesn't sound great. I know that hardly ever happens, that a powered speaker doesn't sound great. Anyway, you want to make it sound better. You want to use some tone controls, and the tone controls that are included in your powered speaker just aren't cutting the mustard. Is that what it does? Cut the mustard? Anyway, enter this, the Douk Audio T8. Now you have a whole bunch of control with your 5-band EQ, and then balance. You should be able to do balance with your power speakers anyway. But I can see this. If you have a pair of affordable, even expensive powered speakers can still sound a bit thin to my ears, even when they have tone controls. You have a 5-band equalizer here, and you can change out the tubes to get even different sound. So that's powered speaker. Most of the time, what I would be using this for is just a regular passive system. So I would put this in between my preamp and my amp. If I didn't have a preamp, this could actually be used as a preamp because it has volume control. Each one of these has a detent at the 12 o'clock position, so you can always find the 12 o'clock position. And these are the old school pots, so not all of these lined up exactly at 12 o'clock, so the little thing right here wasn't at 12 o'clock, but I was able to just pull off the knob and then reset it so that comes in at 12 o'clock. So you can, if they don't line up when you get them, just pull off the knob. Click it to midnight and then pull off the knob and then set it. So no big deal. Do that all the time on vintage electronics. As far as the EQ, the bottom end is 64, 256, 1K, which is great. I wish it was 2K, but 1K is all right. 4K, and then 16K. And then next to that, you have the balance, and then next to that, you have the volume. I wish these numbers, as far as frequencies, were a little bit different, but that's okay. One is okay. I like 2K, because 2K seems to be that icky part of the mid-range that sometimes gets boosted up too much. 4K is great, 16K is great. For some of us that have a little bit of hearing damage, cranking that 16K up can bring in a little bit of air. 64 is good. I would have liked to see something a little bit lower, but 64, lower than 80, so that's good. I know cheapaudioman, theirs is right around 20 or 30. And that's actually a good comparison, cheapaudioman. Because at this price, this is coming in less than the Loki, but has a lot of Loki-ish features, like the balanced. It also comes in right around the same price as the Bellari EQ, and that's a 5-band EQ as well. One of the coolest things about this is the balance feature, because a lot of times, some amplifiers, especially something like the A07, doesn't have any balance. A lot of amplifiers, even expensive ones, don't have balance adjustment. So what one can do, a lot of people have open concept rooms, or on one side of the speaker, it'll just be open. That has a tendency to mess with center imaging and soundstage in general. And the way they used to do it old school is they would just put the balance more towards the speaker that was on the open area. And then you can get your center image back to where it was supposed to be. I don't know why balance knobs went out of fashion, but they're quite usable. And to have one on an EQ makes it super convenient. So, what are my final thoughts? Final thoughts. I worried, I had a concern that this may adversely affect the soundstage. Now with tubes in it, hopefully, if you lose any soundstage, then you may gain it back with the tubes. When you put a lot of things in the chain, sometimes that can adversely affect soundstage and openness and airiness. However, I did not hear that. I was running the Lokius right before I put this in. So this was running with the Freya N from Skit Audio into this. Actually, it was the Gishelli Labs J2 going into the Freya N, going out of the Freya N into this, and then out of this into the Tier monoblocks. I didn't really notice any difference from, I don't know, a sonic characteristic. And quite frankly, I didn't really notice any difference from like a soundstage perspective either. It didn't collapse it at all, which is a good thing with more affordable EQs. Is it as good as the Lokius? I don't really think you can compare them because the Lokius is a 6-band and it also has different frequencies where it is changing things. Also, I don't know what the throw is on these. A lot of times a company will tell you, okay, on the lower end, maybe it's 12 dB swing. So plus 12, minus 12. Usually as you get closer in, they're plus 6, minus 6. I do not know what the cut and the boost is on any of these. They didn't seem super heavy-handed in the middle, so I would assume maybe it's 6 dB. I don't know though. I don't think it really matters. I was able to get the sound that I wanted to out of these. Now, another thing about EQs in the analog domain, really digital domain too, is if you are going to change the sound, go ahead and kind of get everything to where you want it to be as far as what you like. And then remember how they look in comparison to each other, and then bring them down below 0. So if you want, let's for instance say you want bass up 3, that up 2, and then you want 1K down, so the mid-range down, what you would do then is you would bring this back to 0, this back to 0, and then you would bring 1K further down, okay? So you would want the top end to be as close to the midnight or 0 position as you can. You want to introduce the least amount of boost as you can. Does it really matter? I don't know, but that's kind of like best practices. I think this is an outstanding product. I love it. I wish if I was doing this one differently, I would put something at 2K. I would take off the headphone amplifier because 125 milliwatts is enough to get a headphone going, but you're not going to really max out that headphone. This is there just for convenience sake, and I would say just skip it next time. I would also skip the volume. I know that this can be used as a preamp, but chances are most people at this price aren't going to be using it as a preamp. You could though. I mean, I don't know. I'd rather just see maybe 6-band, no volume, no headphone amp. Keep the tubes, keep everything the same. I think that would be awesome. Even though I still think it's great. I think it's awesome. And I think at $130, it is a huge value. I think this competes kind of somewhat with the Lokius from the balanced perspective. Functionally though, it's more like the low key with the 5 bands, but the frequencies are different. So it's hard to compare. If you want a balanced EQ though, this is the one. I love the tube. I love these tubes. I love this product. I think this is outstanding. I think there's only 19 of them on Amazon. So if you want this, if you're in the market for an EQ, I would probably pull the trigger today if you want one. Don't feel like I'm forcing you or pressuring you to buy it though. It's great though. I love EQs. EQs have a soft spot in my heart, and this is a good one at a really fair price with some cool features. So, if you'd like to support the channel, you can sign up for Patreon, patreon.com/cheapaudioman. Every Sunday night, we have Patreon-only Zooms, Patreon-only Discord, Patreon-only Facebook. You can also buy this on Amazon. That is an affiliate link, which means if you click and you buy, I get a commission, but it doesn't cost you any more, so it's a great way to support the channel. You can also sign up for Amazon Music, Tidal, or Roon. Links in the description. Click sign up. Even if you quit, I still get a couple of dollars. And you can also use the thanks button down at the bottom of the video next to the share button. Buy me a cup of coffee. Don't feel compelled to buy me anything. So, don't binge watch anything on Netflix or Hulu. Jazz up your system. Fix your room a little bit with the Douk Audio T8, which they really should be like EQ1. That should be the model number, not T8. And fill your soul with happiness. And with that, I'm Randy. I'm the Cheap Audio Man.